Hello friends, today we have the honor of interviewing my great friend, Tai Tai.
Yeah, you can call me Tai Tai,
I can call you Tai Tai.
but only you.
Only me, right?
Yeah.
This is Tyler Summers, a dear friend, and he's the co-founder of Liked Vancouver, a very popular journal, and is it a journal?
We'll call it a lifestyle magazine, I guess, online lifestyle magazine.
There you go, thank you. You know what, I'm not doing you any justice. Please introduce yourself to us.
Sure,
What do you do? What do you do?
I'm a freelance personality. I'm a freelance writer. I like to share experiences that I've had and tell stories.
Right, and specifically in the hospitality restaurant experience.
Yeah, that tends to be where our audience at Like Vancouver is gravitated, is towards food, is towards lifestyles, towards the hospitalities. And my particular interest is in travel, exploration, and learning about what's behind the scenes of all these incredible entrepreneurs and creative hospitality folks.
How did you get into this trade?
It was out of networking, building friendships. I used to own a clothing company called Article Clothing a number of years ago, and made a number of friends throughout the fashion industry. And then a friend of mine, Celeste Moore, who's a fairly well-known travel writer and music writer, she moved from LA for writing about music. She moved to Vancouver, and we met up and ended up just sort of sharing stories. And she said, listen, do you want to start a blog with me? Do you want to start a little publication? And that was in my days where I would just sort of say yes to as much as possible to get new experiences. So the trade-off was that I would share my networks and the folks that I know in Vancouver, and she would teach me how to write.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what do you mean by the fact that she teaches you how to write?
Well, more broadly, it would be how to create good content. So her background, of course, for writing for music reviews and concerts was being able to share a story that would be compelling and interesting to readers.
Right.
And she's been published in Vogue and New York Times and all the really bigger Canadian publications since moving to Canada. So it was sort of a hack. Like, how do you get to you could go to school and learn how to do this in a more formal setting, but that's not sort of the way that I learn. I learn better from experiences and from people.
So from the best, pretty much.
Yes, absolutely. If you do get a chance to check out her writing, it's fantastic. So she, through blood, sweat, and tears, I'd write stories, and they just get cut to pieces. Just like, I had to grow a bit of a thicker skin. But you learn quickly by making mistakes and being like, well, this is a perfect example of what not to do.
Right.
So from there, you pick up your ego, put it back on, and then you're off to the races and trying again. And so I'd say over the 4 or 5 years, going through puberty, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've learned a lot, but still, this is absolutely, creating content is a lifelong learning experience for sure.
It's really interesting to see your humbleness when it comes to writing, because like our viewers, these guys are aspiring restaurateurs. They're the ones that are pitching you.
Right.
And they look up to you.
Some do, yeah.
Some do, yeah. They should be, because if they want you to write about them, they better be. But for you, when you're sharing this, I think it's really insightful, because it's like, wow, on the other side of the table, what do you go through, and the stuff you have to go through and endure to actually get to where you are right now.
Absolutely.
We'll dive in deeper in terms of like how people can get noticed, get you to write about them, free publication and everything.
Right.
But before we do that, I know you have some crazy stories about traveling and your job, the perks of your job. Show us, make us jealous of that.
Well, I'll say, the stories do sound, possibly sort of really exciting and glamorous and all fun times, but there is a trade-off where you've actually got to sit down and create good content. But certainly, based on the experiences, so we've been to Mexico on food tours, Playa del Carmen, staying in beautiful hotels and eating delicious food and trying delicious mezcal drinks and cocktails that would blow your mind. California, exploring different areas of California, and then British Columbia, of course. Lots of travel to Tofino and Victoria, staying in really incredible boutique hotels, eating at the best restaurants, and enjoying cocktails, restaurants, and outdoor experiences that have been so enjoyable. But certainly when you have a story to tell, it connects to the experience that you have. So it sounds, what, you did all these incredible things, and sometimes we'll even get car sponsors. They'll give us, BMWs and Volvos and really cool little minis that make funny sounds, and you get to drive these around and sort of pretend this is your lifestyle. So it's a little bit of pretend play, but
you're being too honest. Like,
yeah.
This is your lifestyle.
Yeah. But it's pretend play for a reason, in that you are playing a role as the journalist or as the media that's invited along. You're there to share in the experience as authentically as possible, so that when that comes through in the content, that you create, the readers see that and feel that.
Oh,
yeah.
Right, that's so cool. And the fact that you get to travel with your family.
Yeah,
everything all inclusive, paid for, guys.
Yeah.
Was it Europe?
We did stay in a few spots in Europe, but our sort of biggest sort of family journey was to Seattle. So we got a car. We stayed in a beautiful hotel right downtown. Brought my in-laws, so there was a whole group of us. We had a gigantic suite, and Tourism Seattle really hooked us up. We went to the Space Needle, the carousels, restaurants.
Beautiful.
The aquariums. It was a really packed agenda,
right.
Which that in itself can be kind of tricky with at the time 2 kids. We have a third now, but 2 at the time, and the in-laws, and making everyone happy. But it was so much fun, and it was a big hookup. It was a lot of exploration, 3 days of an action-packed, all expense-paid family journey. I think we tallied it up. It would have been around $6 or $7 grand, easily. Maybe even more, but. Then the work kicked in, so we certainly had to stay on task, stay on the schedule, show up with my family, and enjoy that experience as if it was something we chose to do, and then convey that to our viewers and our readers.
Gotcha. So when actually back to something a little bit more pragmatic for our viewers.
Yeah.
Like, let's say for example, they are to pitch you. They have a new restaurant. They're like, "Yo, Ty, can you help me write an article about this?" What would you what's the best approach?
Totally. So I would say just be yourself. I think there's a real art to the informal conversation. I think you know this well, and those of you that are starting out, your viewers, be authentic, be yourself. So think about what it is that you actually want, and be relatively transparent. So what's your budget? What are you actually offering? There's nothing more uncomfortable than asking media to come out and then a big bill shows up, because you didn't really talk about that. It can be a little awkward to talk about what is being offered in the host, from the host. What are they offering you to come in and do? So be really clear about that. Are you inviting them in to explore the menu fully? Is there a specific a special that you want to show and have this person write about, have the media person write about? So be really honest, be friendly, be personable, be authentic, and be clear about what it is that you're asking them to do openly. And the media person or the journalist that's coming in, the writer that's coming in, the influencer that's coming in, whomever it is, I believe will really appreciate knowing what's being offered.
But the funny thing is, like, when I was just talking to Tammy, she was just bringing up that, hey, like, restaurants can be brutally honest. They're like, come in for a meal and please write about us. Right? And Tammy's like, no, I don't like that. Like, it's like an obligation. Is that still the right approach?
Well, there's absolutely the possibility that somebody would come in and have a terrible experience. It does happen, and you don't want that person to make stuff up and write about it. That's not going to come across well. So I hear where Tammy's coming from, where it just may not be a good experience, and I think that can happen, and you don't want to write about that. So I think that the host may want to be clear, like, come in, enjoy the food. If you enjoy yourself, if we've delivered, if this is a good experience, please write about us. Just include that piece about how is the experience. And a lot of the really good restaurateurs and hospitality folks that invite in media will ask you, like, how was it? Like, seriously, it's all good. Let me know was there anything. What were the growth areas? What do we need to work on? And that can be an invitation to have that discussion about how is this going to show up as content, if at all.
So you get bombarded every single day. How do people cut through everything so then that actually gets to you?
Well, a lot of the sort of hospitality restaurants, the restaurateurs that are able to get on board with a PR agency will do that.
Yeah.
And often they'll be with a quiver of other
Right.
restaurants, perhaps that are, they're different restaurants, but they might have a similar ethos or sort of brand mission, which might be local fare. They might be, something that really embraces and connects with the Vancouver, lifestyle. So I think that if you have the means to connect with a PR agency, that can really help you connect with media, because the PR agencies will often, again, have a reliable roster of folks that they can connect with. So a lot of the connection to myself, or to, I believe, a lot of food writers and influencers is through PR agencies.
Gotcha. Let's say if the regular day folks don't have the budget.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So here's an interesting approach. It could be to build a relationship with the PR agency. Be like, look, we don't have the funds to do this. What are would you be willing to share with me some of your tips and how you navigate that piece? They might be open to that. Just they won't open up their Rolodex, obviously, and say, call these people. Here's my contacts. But they would, perhaps say, here's some approaches that we use when building relationships with writers. But the other is just the cold calls. Get out there, look for people, look at Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And look at publications you like, and find out who are the people that are writing the articles, and email them. Just say, we've got this new spot. We get lots of DMs through Instagram saying, check out this new product or this new restaurant, and that's the beginning of a lot of relationships.
I like that. Yeah. What was the most over the top thing that dazzled you away? You're like, wow, I have to check out this guy.
Yeah, I would say it's, again, the authentic message, sort of the informal nature that often shows that somebody has some confidence in their product,
right.
And being clear with what it is you're able to offer. Those are the things that I look for.
That's what
if it's sort of wishy-washy and you can kind of tell that
they don't know what they want.
They don't know what they want. Maybe they've got the wrong person, sending the messages out. Maybe it's the head chef himself that's in there being like, hey, let's come out. I noticed that. Or, if it's connected to other sectors of hospitalities, if it's somebody that you can tell has an authentic stake in, the company, reaching out to you, and you're like, okay, this is right beside the source.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. It's really crazy. Throughout the interviews that we've been doing, the common theme is just being authentic.
Yeah.
And people see right through that. So, even if you don't have the budget, but if you're sincere and you're real, people are much more connected to
Absolutely.
that. I love that. That's really insightful. What is the one thing that pisses you off? You're like, no, delete you, swipe left.
Well, that's not a lot pisses me off, to be honest. I really do.
I know that, guys. I know that this guy has 3 kids. Nothing phases him. 3 kids just all over the place, and he's just sipping on his beer. And Tyler,
yeah.
He's still okay.
Yeah. So the reason I don't get pissed off, and it is sort of connected to just my overall, I guess, life philosophy or work ethic, is that you don't need to be a really patient, friendly, kind person if you have understanding.
Sorry, okay. No, repeat that. I'm so lost.
So you don't need to be a really patient, nice, kind person.
Yeah.
If you, alongside with that comes understanding. So to be calm, to be able to not get pissed off and be like, delete, it comes from a place of understanding, not from actual patience.
Oh.
Yeah. So when I see, so I see this person, it's a horrible message, it sort of doesn't make sense. I'm like, I do a little research, I'm like, wow, I get it. This makes sense. This person maybe is just starting out. They don't know what they're doing.
Right.
They don't know what they don't know, which is a huge sort of that area of not knowing how to approach something. I'm like, you know what? That's the place to start. I get it. So there's no point in getting angry about that.
Oh, you're so wise.
Well, that happens as you get older. Or you just get angrier. I don't know.
It's either or.
It depends on the day.
Or.
But certainly with kids and with people, with relationships, I tend to be really cautious of making assumptions based on something like a text or a DM or whatever. I think you're much more able to construct a position about something if you've spoken to them face to face, and you can read body language, you can ask them a few questions, then you can make a better, sort of decide on a position around, for business or whatever.
I love that. You're super empathetic. Like you just...
Well, empathy is huge, because if you have empathy that's connected to understanding, and people can pick that up from you, and will be less likely to try to rip you off or do something ridiculous or think they can get away with something because they can feel it. Whereas text messages, emails, these sort of places, there's no real human interaction. You're reading paper you're reading words off a device or paper, and that misses a whole component to the human experience that you want to get to. So whenever I am going to work with somebody, perhaps on a larger level, I'll ask for a phone call. There's a lot you can do in hearing their voice and hearing what they're like, or
passion that spills through.
And even Zoom or Teams or Google Hangouts, when you see that person, that little cube there, you can actually pick up a lot through that as well. So a tip for your viewers, see if you can get to a place. If it looks like there's a relationship you want to build, try to get to a face-to-face, whether it be digitally or physically distanced in person, and talk about what it is you're passionate about and what you'd like, and you're gonna have a great relationship if that's your goal, over just sort of numbers. Like, just get as many people, as much information in, and then there's nothing wrong with the shotgun approach and getting a lot of interest. But when you start to pare down to those people you really want to work with and build, some content together, my advice is to get to the face-to-face or the digital face-to-face as soon as possible.
I like that, because that's exactly why I called you to pitch you on the idea of Secret Sauce.
Yeah.
Because I really want to, instead of sending you a pitch deck, it's much more easier to tell you about my vision, my passion. Yeah. And it's something that I'm just super passionate about, Secret Sauce. Yeah.
Totally, and that's what I picked up on. I read through the deck, and I think, you shared this information with me, and I'm like, add questions, and is this the right one? Which one is this? And when we talk in person, it's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
So for your viewers, I think that's probably why they're so connected to you, is because you put stuff in that format, the digital format, where they can see you, they can read your body language, and from there decide what to do next. So I think that's your secret sauce, maybe.
Maybe one day we'll shoot a series just on my secret sauce. But that's the reason why we shot Secret Sauce. For some of you guys that don't know what Secret Sauce is, it really quick 101 of what it is basically when we first sold our ice cream shop, or actually we built an ice cream shop into a 7-location chain. We sold it earlier this year, pre-COVID, so super lucky on that one. And throughout the whole experience and the whole journey of building this restaurant out, I find that the knowledge and the information that's out in the public is little to none. And especially, no one is willing to share their numbers. It's such a coveted industry. And that's the reason why I set out to actually shoot restaurants and to find out their secret sauce, their philosophy in running a successful restaurant, and some of their numbers. And so I'm super stoked on that, and we actually prepared a trailer for you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I want to see your most honest feedback.
Honest feedback, okay.
Honest feedback. If it's not good, just tell me it's not good. This is like Instagram famous. It's mind-blowing how many times this shows up on my feed. This looks like I'm at a high school party. Are you gonna hire me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Money wasn't always a driving factor for us. It's just, if you're busy, you're good.
They're in kind of a box that they have to follow. And so we never really liked them.
Everything you see here is designed and is built around the natural world.
At the end of the day, it's just gotta taste great,
Wow.
Exactly, right? That's a little difference,
That's the
right?
secret sauce.
That's a difference.
There's a particular expression that Jake and I recognize, which is the person who came to the old Fergies, and they're just sort of like...
But gluten-free.
Yeah,
That's the part that I'm mixed up.
Yes, I was kind of mortified when we got that award. I was like, we want to be known for our food, space, drinks, not bathrooms.
Well, here's the thing. My projections had me saving up probably like $100,000 for rainy day fund.
Yeah.
Turns out that rainy day fund is just what COVID is called now. You know, so.
Nice.
What do you think?
I like the Supercuts. I like the pace. There's some numbers in there. There's a little bit of a sharing of some of that coveted information.
Would you watch this?
I'd watch that. Yeah, yeah. Well, I just did too.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
No, I'd
The
watch
actual
it.
episode.
I would watch it again.
You watch it again?
And I would watch the episode. What would draw me into watching that is that it sort of led to the discovery that there's going to be more. Yeah. There's more content that I'd want to get from there. Specifically, I want to know. I think it was Fergie's. I'd want to see what she talked about. So there's a little cut in there where she's like, people walk into the new Fergie's and they're like, whoa. I want to see that. Whoa.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
That wowed me away.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like for us, we chose 8 restaurants to feature, and all 8 of them supposedly was in Vancouver. And then we went to Whistler one weekend, and I had such a great experience there that I'm like, should we drive 2 hours all the way up just to interview them?
Yeah.
And that's the choice we made because it was that good.
And that was in Whistler. Fergie's is in Whistler.
Squamish.
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 Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
It's
Yeah, I
such
gotta
a
check that
hidden
out.
gem
Yeah.
that I'm like, wow, I would actually go back again.
Nice.
We actually did, like, to just shoot this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then I saw, the fella from Juke's Fried Chicken. That looked pretty cool. He seems like a really cool guy. I don't know who that is. And then, I really liked it. That was well done.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next segment, last segment. I know your time is precious. I don't want to take too much
Well,
of
I mean, it's Friday.
it. Yeah, time to go home. Okay, so this segment, anything that comes to mind right off the bat, I don't want no filter. Like
No
if
filters?
it's no filters,
Okay.
just go on.
Okay.
You can rumble, you can riff, do whatever you
Riff, okay.
want. What do you think about the food scene in Vancouver?
It's incredible. It's diverse. It's you can sort of travel the globe with the food that's come in from various parts. There's a huge a collaborative element, I feel, to the food scene in Vancouver, and there's a lot of pride.
A lot of pride.
Yeah. In their product, in their creation, right down to a lot of the good spots you can tell when you connect with the servers, the front line of the spot, that they have a strong leader. There's some leadership that's happening within that restaurant, where the passion gets through to all layers of the folks that work there.
Got it. How do you feel about owning a restaurant?
I think you'd have to be bonkers to do it, and because so many people,
Why?
The margins. I know, and I hear and I see the margins are so slim. The audience is fickle and demanding, and just the ecosystem of owning a restaurant just has so many moving parts. I have a huge amount of respect for folks that dive into that because of the perseverance and dedication that's needed to seeing a vision through and being willing to be like, here's my vision, and then left turn, right turn, left turn. Now you're back at where you wanted to be with so many external factors that influence the success of that. I think you have to be pretty close to crazy to get into it in a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah.
What makes you think makes for a good restaurant?
Leadership, passion, vision, and connecting to your community, being able to work with the folks around you in a meaningful way. It doesn't always have to be friendly and kind and nice, although that's ideal. It just needs to be meaningful.
Got it. Beautiful. What are the biggest struggle within the restaurant industry?
I really think it's the external factors. I think that you can have a great plan, you can have everything mapped out down to the gram per serving and have the plan go, and then something unexpected can happen. Perhaps you're like the poke guy where there's the salmon and there's a problem with salmon, and the salmon doesn't get to you. There goes your income for that day, week, whatever. Of course, pandemics can play a little bit of an influence in this, right? So these external factors that completely cut out your ability to function can happen, and that's what I think is the most difficult part.
Why do you think? Well, I guess this answers the question already. Like, why do you think people fail so fast?
Yeah, the external factors, the passion, the drive, the ability to get up after sort of constantly being knocked down by things that you don't expect.
Right.
The unknown, I think as human beings, the unknown is a stressful and anxious thing that, throughout life we struggle with. We don't know what's ahead of us. And I think that's what kicks people out, is like, I think it's going to be like this, and it wasn't like that at all.
Right.
So they're like, I'm out. What's the point?
Right.
That sort of negative self-talk, I think that we all have. If you haven't got a system or a way of dealing with that negative self-talk, you're not going to last long in the restaurant industry.
Why do you think people that in the restaurant industry specifically, they don't like sharing the numbers? Why is that the case?
Perhaps that's the fear of giving up what it is that is working for you. And the sort of, again, the natural sort of human emotion of not wanting to be ripped off or copied or having your ideas stolen.
Yeah.
I think that can happen in industries, in hospitalities and in restaurant industry as well. But again, I think if somebody's willing to copy you and try and take your numbers and replicate what you're doing, that's a compliment to you. That means you've got something going on. And my personal opinion is your what's the word I'm looking for? People that go and eat your food. Patrons. Thank you.
There you go.
Yes, your patrons. Yes. I know you had my back. Your patrons can tell the difference. They can see, like, this person, is basically copying that idea.
Right.
And they're going to want that authentic, the real deal. They're not going to want the copy. So
would you change your answer now that what makes a restaurant successful is being the real deal?
I think I wouldn't change it. I'd add that in. I'd throw that ingredient in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Because that's what it seems like the recurring answer is. Just
the real deal.
The real deal.
What is the real deal? What is authenticity?
Just being you. I think letting the passion flow through.
Yeah.
Right. Especially with, I think a lot of, actually before I'll share with you. I feel like restaurateurs, they're really proud of what they're able to make. And I think it's one of the trades and industries that allow you to create something from concept to actually bring it to life. Something that's tangible.
Yeah.
That not a lot of industries have. So for example, e-commerce. It's not something you can touch. It's every day you're just on the computer and just clicking away.
Right.
And I have friends who are making like bank.
Yeah.
And they don't feel satisfied because it feels like, oh, it's just more numbers.
Right.
Right? But being in a restaurant environment is very different because you get to see people enjoying your food, people complimenting you, people saying that, wow, this is so good.
Right.
Or thank you for giving me such a great, pleasant experience. I really enjoyed it.
Right.
I think those moments are what these crazy breeds really value.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think
that's the authenticity.
Right, and just sort of riffing off what you're saying, authenticity lives in the tactile, lives in the senses. Yeah, so like we were talking about before with seeing somebody, meeting somebody, talking to them, that passion coming from them, conveying that message, and then tasting the food, touching the food, smelling it.
Yeah.
This whole tactile experience really indicates this authenticity that we've been talking about. Yeah.
Beautiful, I like that. What do you think about third-party delivery apps?
I think they serve a purpose. Yeah.
Hate them, love them?
It's a love-hate. It's a love-hate. I don't love that it's cutting the bottom line out of a margin that's already pretty razor thin for the restaurateurs. But having said that, I think during the pandemic, that's what kind of kept a lot of food going out the door, was people with their systems in place to pick up the food safely and deliver it to people safely.
Right.
So that folks at home in lockdown were still able to enjoy their fried chicken or their food from their favorite restaurant at home. So I think it serves a purpose, but certainly just like the disruptors out there like Uber and Tesla, they're in there making it all work. And I think as long as they're going in with that collaborative sort of attitude and they're working together with the restaurateurs and not trying to put too much pressure on it, on their ability to function, I'll think they're okay. They can still deliver food. But I would do what Tammy does, is sometimes I try to find out, can I just go pick it up and tip and pay that restaurant directly rather than going through the delivery app.
So then that way money stays with
Money stays there, yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
What do you think distinguishes the restaurants who are thriving throughout COVID and the ones that are not? Because we know there are restaurants who are like double in sales, which is crazy.
Right.
After COVID.
Yeah, well,
and others that are like just dying?
you know, I think we're going to find out in your upcoming episodes, you know, through the numbers. And I think that's the big point here is that I think we're going to, when you're asking those questions around the numbers, around the secret sauce, that's going to show an indication. That's going to give an indication as to how they're still surviving, because I think those folks probably have some pretty good behind the scenes metrics. They probably have a really good vision. They probably are working well with their staff. They probably, you know, have a sort of collectivism attitude
Right.
where they see themselves as part of an ecosystem rather than fighting an ecosystem.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong, so I can't wait to find out exactly the answer to that.
On the next episode of Secret Sauce.
That's right. But that's what I suspect it is. I think it's good governance. I think it's great relationships, and you know that word again, authenticity.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your
My
time.
pleasure. Yeah.
Appreciate it. I would hug it out, but we're good.
Yeah. Well, you know, we shared a bubble over the summer, so
We
you know,
did.
technically we could hug it out, and you guys could be jealous.